Hello everyone and welcome to today's video. Today I'm going to try to beat Pokemon Gold as fast as possible with just the Kangaskhan. I'm planning on doing these runs with every single Pokemon of Pokemon Gold to see which one is the fastest and therefore kinda best Pokemon in the second generation. So if you want to join me on this journey, I would be very happy to welcome you as a subscriber to my channel. And also, if you want to see a specific Pokemon soon, please let me know in the comments. Chances that your wish gets picked are still quite high. I just have one condition. Since I'm still learning and improving on this game, please pick one of those that are either fully evolved or don't have evolution stages at all. So something like Feraligatr or Pinsir. There have been a few suggestions already, and I will pick the next Pokemon after Kangaskhan. If you wonder why I picked Kangaskhan, the reasons for that are quite obvious, I think. Last week I decided to play Ursaring, which was a beast in offense, but it had one problem in particular. It did lack speed, which gave it a lot of resets at red. So I figured that I might not need that much attack because return is a stab move and therefore could sacrifice some attack for a better speed, which would then turn the red fight into an easier battle. So much from a strategy point of view. Let's get a bit more into detail with the stats. Kangaskhan has 490 total base stats, which is a very solid amount. Its best stat is HP, which isn't great because most often you don't need that much HP, but here it has 105. That is followed by two more above average stats, 95 attack and 90 speed. The biggest downside for Kangaskhan will be the 40 special attack though. This basically reduces our moveset to physical moves, with the only exceptions being probably Fire and Ice Punch for Jasmine and Lance. Defense wise, it has 80 in both, which is good and should give Kangaskhan a bit of bulk if it's unable to one-shot. On the resistance side, it's done very quick. Ghost can't hit us at all and fighting does it super effective. But we've learned from Ursaring that this shouldn't pose any problems. But now comes the probably most important thing, the moveset. Kangaskhan has access to a lot of great moves. Of course, the holy duo, Headbutt and Return, which both are amazing. Also, it has access to Earthquake and the elemental punches. But Kangaskhan has only 40 base special attack, so honestly, I shouldn't use any special moves, and with that in mind, the potential moveset reduces drastically. With that, it basically shrinks down to Headbutt, Return and Earthquake. Also great is the availability of Bite for Morty. I could go for elemental punches here, but Bite is at least effective and thus has more base power than the elemental punches. And talking about Morty, Kangaskhan will also learn Shadow Ball, which can be used to deal super effective damage to Psychic type Pokemon and Ghost type Pokemon. But, interestingly, you could compare Shadow Ball to Return. Shadow Ball has 80 base power and deals ×2 damage against Psychic, so you could set it to 160 against Psychic. If you look into Return, you will see that it only has 102 base power, but then profits from Stab and gets boosted to 153. So if I have a Pink Bow equipped, Return would still be better than Shadow Ball. But that's a lot of theory. What seems to be a problem will be the moves Kangaskhan learns from level up. It starts with Comet Punch, which has only 85% accuracy and isn't a good move after all. And then at 7 it learns Leer, which basically prevents the usage of Struggle. On 13 it learns Bite, which is special and also isn't a good improvement. So this means the first good move we have in this playthrough is Headbutt at Ilex Forest. Then at 25 it gets Mega Punch, which is an upgrade to Headbutt in terms of power, but comes with the downside of 85% accuracy. Reversal is kinda like Flail, but sadly this would require Kangaskhan to have low HP to be effective and thus couldn't be planned very well. That was a lot for the moveset potentials, and now it's finally time to look into something more interesting. Kangaskhan is in the medium fast level group. It actually is the second worst out of the 4 leveling groups up until level 63, 64, where it finally overtakes medium slow, but generally speaking we defeat blue by about that level. So at red, the 2 medium level groups even out, but the medium slow group has the early advantage of fast levels. After all, it shouldn't pose a threat to Kangaskhan as it didn't do to Ursaring either. So after clearing Sprout Tower and reaching level 12, it's time to face the first battle of today, Falkner. Comet Punch does land the 3-hit to Pidgey. It has a 37.5% chance to land 2 hits, another 37.5% chance to land 3, 12.5 to land 4 and another 12.5 to land 5. So in only 25% of the cases it lands 4 or 5 hits. But ideally 3 is great, which I get against Pidgey. I get another 3 hit against Pidgeotto, which brings it down into red, but the very next turn Pidgeotto's appearance is ended easily, and with that I have the first badge in my pocket. With that comes a 12.5% boost to the attack stat, which is also very welcome. After Falkner, I went ahead and caught a Bellsprout as my HM Mule for cut. It's pretty easy to encounter a bell spot on the way to Union Cave, and even if I don't have the luck in Union Cave, I still might encounter Sandshrew. Arriving in Union Cave, I had to dodge the trainer with the Onyx, because it's not easy to defeat with a physical attacker, especially if your moveset is as bad as Kangaskhan's is right now. In Azalea Town, I swiftly visit Kurt, who wants to scare away Team Rocket from the Slowpoke well. Of course, when he entered the well, he broke his leg, so I had to do it instead. With Team Rocket out of the way, it's time to face the rival. I have taught Kangaskhan Mudslap in the meantime, but I could have also knocked out Ghastly in one turn with Bite. Well, that would have been better. Luckily it missed Hypnosis, so that I can take it out. Then against Zubat, one use of Comet Punch is not enough, even though it hit 3 times. A Bite is used by Zubat, but another Comet Punch knocks it out. Finally, against Croconaw, I have to rely on Comet Punch once again. In this battle, I get lucky. The first roll lets hit Kangaskhan 3 times, and the second one lets it even hit 4 times, resulting in a very easy and clean victory against the rival. With that gained confidence, it's time to face the last battle with a bad moveset. Bugsy. Bugsy starts with Metapod. I go for Bite against Metapod because it is more reliable than Comet Punch. Metapod has also worse special defense than physical defense, so I take advantage of that, and finally, Bite can cause flinches, which it did. So it's an easy 2-shot for Metapod. Bite also takes Kakuna into Orange HP, and after use is hardened, Bite takes out Kakuna as well. Now onto Bugsy's ace. I use Comet Punch and get a 3-hit in the very first try, bringing down Scyther to Orange. I now have a 62.5% chance to get 3 or more hits, which I managed to hit in getting another 3-hit knocking out Scyther. Finally, I am redeemed from this weird Comet Punch and allowed to get a nice attack. But before getting that TM, I need to return a lost Farfetch in the Alex Forest to a black belt. His student lost it in the woods, and the black belt gives me a HM1 cut for my efforts. The nice attack I spoke about is Headbutt, which I get from this green-haired guy in Alex Forest. I taught it right away instead of Leer. I then grab the coin case and defeat some trainers in the underground. I decided to keep Comet Punch because after all it could help PP wise and Leer wouldn't have been used anyways. It's time to face Whitney. Against Clefairy I start with Headbutt and Clefairy just barely hangs on. It's not that Double Slap is dangerous, so it gets defeated the very next turn. Against Miltank, I wanted to lower the accuracy with Mudslap once. I hoped for a Warlord, but it went for Stomp and so the waste began. After all, my Mudslap was a wasted turn, but I emerged victorious with 20 HP left after a few headbutts. I then quickly grabbed the Squirt Bottle because I had the intuition that I might scare a tree with that later. And then I picked up Kenya from a guard in Goldenrod City as well, as an Abra for only 4,000 Poké from the game corner. Before performing the skip, I will quickly grab Fire and Ice Patch from the market. Those will come in handy for Claire, Lance and Jasmine. It's time to utilize Abra, which brings us back to Violet City. I quickly splashed some water over the stone tree, which then attacked me and I decided to run. But instead of me running, we see this weird tree yeeting into space. Arriving in Aquatic City, I defeat the Kimono Girls to get HM03 Surf and also picked up a mint berry from the Mumu farm, which I will hopefully not need for Morty, but it could secure a try. Get ready and fasten your seatbelt, this ride is going to get a bit bumpy. Sadly, Bite does not one-hit KO Ghastly because Ghastly survives with 1 HP. It uses Curse, of course, which is very bad. Luckily, you don't get Curse damage after knocking out a Pokemon. Haunter comes in, and I expected to be cursed by it instead of Ghastly. But I guess we get some compensatory justice because Bite lets it flinch, so it evens out. Another Bite then obviously is enough. Against Gengar, it seems that I need 3 bites. I get the flinch again, which is nice, but honestly doesn't change anything. Curse damage is very scary and I defeat Gengar with only 20 HP left. But this is great, because now comes the good part. Curse only deals 26, so I basically have a chance. As long as I 2-shot the Haunter, I will be victorious, and so it is. With only 2 HP left, Kangaskhan managed to take out Morty and secure the 4th badge. Before facing Chuck, I examine the lighthouse in Olive City. While I'm here, I grab the rare candy for later usage. Then I head to Jasmine, who told me that Ampharos is sick and needs medicine. I support this case of course and will head straight to Sandro City to grab the medicine. But I don't have a surf mule yet, so I need to get the good word from this fisherman as well as HM of 4th strength from the sailor in Olive City to then fish up and catch a Krabby, which will be used as my mule for surf and strength. With that out of the way, I will battle Chuck. I go for Headbutt against Primeape, which unfortunately does not knock it out. This means I have to tank a Karate Chop, which deals tremendous damage. I am able to face Poliwrath with 62 HP, but my hopes are shattered because Headbutt also does not deal half to Poliwrath. And of course it lands a dynamic punch, which ends this try and leads to the first reset of this run. But luckily at level 25 I learned Mega Punch, which has 80 base power. With that, I am indeed able to one-hit KO the Primeape and deal over half to Poliwrath afterwards. This time the coin flip is in my favor and Poliwrath misses Dynamic Punch, which results in another Mega Punch, which bypasses the chance to miss due to 85% accuracy and therefore defeats Poliwrath, granting me the 5th badge and probably the hardest to earn one. So I get out and very swiftly get the HM2 for flying and also the secret potion. I had Fire Punch quite a while in my moveset by now, and I think it should be enough to defeat Jasmine as well. With the healed Empress, Jasmine is ready to battle. Mega Matter opens, but to my surprise, Fire Punch does not knock it out on a single hit. Since I didn't expect that, I did not equip the Paralyzed Cure Berry, and therefore after Thunder Wave from Magnemite, things fall apart within a few seconds. A few Thunderballs and Fire Punches later, I am ready to face Steelix, but with only 20 HP left and lower speed, there isn't much to do. Indeed, the first Iron Tail lands, and it's time for the second reset. I see that it isn't promising to do a second try, and that's why it's time to change up the route a bit. Before going to the Rocket Hideout, I quickly grab another rare candy at the Lake of Rage, and then I sweep to the Rocket Hideout. In today's section, I want to talk about Kangaskhan. It does not feel quite as strong as Alakazam and Ursaring yet, and you can see in the splits that Kangaskhan is a bit slower. But I know the problems for Ursaring came later, so I am still in good hope to catch up a bit. Kangaskhan really struggles with the special attacks, and you definitely see it in the battles against Jasmine. For Ursaring, this was no problem at all. For Kangaskhan it also won't be, but I need to change the route again to gain more levels and do some more stuff to increase my power, which is unfavorable and does add up to the time needed. Plus, Kangaskhan does not get great moves in the mid game. It will be super strong in the end game, but a lot of the time you are not in there and you lose minute by minute if you can't deal enough damage early on. That definitely is the case with Kangaskhan. Starting with Comet Punch, which isn't great, going through Bugsy without Swift, and even after Bugsy with only Headbutt and no Dig or strong elemental punches, you really feel the time lost. But after all, Kangaskhan is still in a pretty okay spot to get a great time. It's not that it's impossible to clear the game in an amazing time, but it would be more likely if the early game would have been significantly better. But it is what it is, and after the quick sweep to the Rocket Hideout, I will do what is needed to get Kangaskhan the best time possible. And this means that I will also fly back to Azalea Town to buy a charcoal, which will increase the power of my fire attacks by 10%. And while I'm on a short trip on completing some tasks that I have to do, I also grab TM27 for return and the radio card that I missed again. Afterwards, I teach return to Kangaskhan instead of Mach Punch. After all, I could still use the flinch chance of Headbutt and Shadow Ball instead of Bite. Shadow Ball is a physical attack, which is nice, and as said in the intro, it will help against Psychic and Ghost types. Now, to increase my chance against Jasmine, I defeat Price first. Seal takes one shot from return. Dugong has better defense and so it survives the return and retaliates with Aurora Beam, but obviously Kangaskhan takes almost no damage and takes out Dugong. Kangaskhan levels up to level 37 and I will not learn Endure because that move isn't good honestly. Piloswine enters the fray and I go for return, which brings Piloswine into Deep Orange. Blizzard crits, and before I can take out Piloswine, Price uses a Hyper Potion. But my return crits and therefore ends this battle, giving me the 6th badge. Now, with level 37, it's time to battle Jasmine. But before I do that, I give the charcoal to Kangaskhan. With that, Kangaskhan now is indeed able to one-shot Magnemite with Fire Punch. So this means the biggest threat is out of the way, as both Magnemites fall without being able to paralyze Kangaskhan. The question now is whether I will be able to deal enough damage to Steelix. Fire Punch does pretty exactly half, which is good. Steelix is out of healing range and misses Iron Tail, which leads to Kangaskhan hitting another Fire Punch, knocking out Steelix. So the 7th badge is secured with a pretty strong time. Next on the list is the rival battle during the radio takeover. Golbat goes down to a single use of return. Magnemite then goes down to a single Fire Punch and Haunter comes in. This Haunter still has Curse, so it's dangerous. But I have the mighty Shadow Ball, which deals with Haunter. Against Sneasel, I get a Fire Punch crit, which I'm not sure whether this was mandatory. Return then almost knocks out Feraligatr, which retaliates with Bite, but ultimately I find a return is also enough to take it out. With that, Kangaskhan levels up to level 42. After I've cleared the radio tower from all the rockets, I quickly grab the Pink Bow from this nice lady. Pink Bow will strengthen my normal moves even more, increasing their power by another 10%. Now, before entering the Ice Path, I catch a Poliwag, which will serve as my mule for Whirlpool and Waterfall. Then I grab the HM7 and also the Never Melt Ice. With that, I'm ready to face Claire. Dragon Pokemon are weak to ice attacks, and for that exact reason I have taught Kangaskhan Ice Punch instead of Headbutt. But in a last second decision I decided to go for Return, since it profits from the Pink Bow and Stab. I'm quite convinced that Ice Punch would not have done the job here. It is 2 times effective, giving it a base power of 150, but Return has the same base power and Kangaskhan only has 76 special attack while having 135 attack. So yeah, Return definitely was the right choice here. Return then almost also one-hit KOs the Kingdra, bringing it down to deep red HP. Kingdra goes for Surf, but couldn't do enough damage. Claire will go for the Hyper Potion, which she does, and 2 more returns then do the job of taking out Kingdra. Instead of handing us the badge immediately, Claire needs to be a very annoying gym leader by giving us a challenge to go to the Dragon's Den and collect the Dragon Fang that lies around. What a great challenge, Claire! Finally, we get the final badge of Johto and are ready to face the Elite Four. But before that, I swiftly grab some more rare candies. One in Violet City, one south of Goldenwood, and another one at Mount Mortar. Then I will get the Master Ball from Professor M and collect the final rare candy on Route 27. Then, at Victory Road, I pick up 326 for Earthquake. Well, I forgot to teach it before the battle. It would have helped, but I have to deal with this now. It's time to face the rival one last time just before the Elite Four. He starts with Sneasel, which is still taken out by Fire Punch, even though Kangaskhan literally has 0 special attack. Golbat gets taken out by Return, and then Magneton does not get taken out by Fire Punch. I really should have learned Earthquake here. Side note, in this gen, Magneton is Electric Steel, so it's double weak to ground moves. Magneton paralyzes Kangaskhan, and now we're up to a fight. Sonic Boom deals 20, and then Magneton goes down. Next is Haunter, and I'm very scared of Curse. Luckily, Haunter decides for Confuse Ray, which lands, but Kangaskhan is unable to attack anyways. Then Haunter goes for Mean Look, which is great, because my Shadow Ball that dodged Paralyzation and Confusion takes out Haunter. Kadabra goes for Future Sight and Kangaskhan is unable to attack again. The next Future Sight fails and the second Shadow Ball now lands. Feraligatr opens with Slash and Kangaskhan's Return is just shy of knocking it out. But after Future Sight, another Slash from Feraligatr, Kangaskhan is able to finally defeat the rival. That battle was way harder than it should have been, so I will definitely teach Kangaskhan Earthquake now instead of Fire Punch. We are ready for the Elite Four. Will starts with Xadu. Even though Return has better damage, it is quite obvious that Shadow Ball is enough to one-shot Xadu. Also, it's better for the overall PP distribution to not only rely on Return. Return is then used for Jinx, which goes down to another one-hit. Executor holds onto a few HP after my Return and goes for Psychic, but after all, it also goes down. Kangaskhan levels up to level 51, and after the first Shadow Ball, Slowbro is in the red HP zone. It goes for Amnesia, which boosts special, but I guess after all it didn't matter what Slowbro boosted, because another attack is enough to take it out. And ultimately, the final Xadu will faint to another Shadow Ball. The second battle against Koga starts off with Ariados. Ariados has no chance against Return. Venomoth awaits the same fate because it has less defense than Ariados and therefore goes down to another one-hit KO from Return. Fortress is another story though. It has high defense, so my Earthquake doesn't deal much. After Protect, I misclick for Shadow Ball, which is protected anyways. I try to go for Ice Punch, which deals almost nothing, so it's back to Earthquake. 2 more Earthquakes are enough to take out Fortress, and against Muk, I make a misplay. I should have gone for Earthquake, which would be super effective, but I went for Return. It's muscle memory after all, but bad muscle memory. I have to think about this in future runs, because Earthquake would have one-shot the Muk. Instead, I give the chance to mess things up, but after Minimize, my next Return lands to knock it out. And finally Crobat, which usually is in a good spot, but this time faints to a single Return. While I was very afraid of Bruno in the Earthring one, this time I knew that I could relax. With 146 speed, it's quite obvious what will happen. I heal up quick and then I'm ready to go. Bruno sends Hitmon top to the field. Return is enough to take it out. Hitmonlee also faints to a single Return. Next up is Hitmonchan, which starts with Mach Punch. Mach Punch as Quick Attack is a move that has priority, but although it's a physical fighting move, it deals almost no damage. But my Return does deal a lot of damage, so Hitmonchan is defeated. Machamp comes in, but unfortunately, Return does not knock it out. It retaliates with a very scary Cross Chop, but luckily Kangaskhan stands with 52 HP. Bruno's Max Potion is followed by 2 more Returns, which take out Machamp. The final contender is Onix, but Ice Punch takes it out as well. With Bruno out of the way, it's time to face Karen. Umbreon should tank a Return, unless it's a crit, which I take all day, because that alone increases my chances of winning by a lot. Against Vileplume I went for another return, which also knocked it out in a single hit. I should learn from that for future ones as well, because often I give Vileplume the chance to paralyze my Pokemon. Well, I guess you know how this build will end now. Gengar gets taken out by Earthquake, Murkrow gets taken out by Return, and Houndoom gets taken out by another Earthquake. It's time for the champion. I heal up, and off we go. Return one-shots Gyarados, but even with being 4 times effective against Dragonite, Ice Punch is not enough to take out the first Dragonite, which of course goes for Thunder Wave. And unfortunately, I'm off by quite a bit. Kangaskhan is unable to attack, and Dragonite goes for Hyper Potion. After being unable to attack a few more times, thank you Kangaskhan, and another Hyper Beam, I am finally able to defeat the first Dragonite. Against the second Dragonite, we can see that Return also isn't strong enough to take out Dragonite, and the consequence to that is that Dragonite takes out Kangaskhan, leading to a third reset. So I will try again. I am quite positive that Return will be strong enough for Gyarados and Charizard even without the Pink Bow, so I equip the Nevermelt Ice in hopes to now defeat Dragonite. Gyarados indeed gets taken out by Return still, which is great, but I have bad news for myself. Ice Punch still isn't strong enough. But I have another ace up my sleeve. Rare Candies. I use all of them to level up Kangaskhan to level 60, but that's my final option. I have to do it now. Obviously, Gyarados gets taken out by Return on level 54, so it doesn't look different on level 60. The important question is whether Ice Punch is now able to defeat Dragonite in a single hit, which I will not find out until the second Dragonite because the first one quits. But finally good news, the second Dragonite gets taken out by Ice Punch even without a quit. Aerodactyl hangs on after Return and goes for Hyper Beam, which means I can relax and take it out in the next turn. Charizard, as expected, takes my final return and is not able to survive this one. And last but not least, it's Lance's level 50 Dragonite. As expected, I did not take it out in a single hit, which means that for the level 47 Dragonite things were close already, but then I get the lucky freeze. Lance goes for a full restore, but obviously is done, and 2 more Ice Punches take out Dragonite. So now comes the biggest skip in this video of the whole playthrough. I already have 15 badges and I'm ready to face Blue, the penultimate challenge of this game. Pidgeot goes down to a single return. Alakazam is outsped by Kangaskhan and gets taken out in another hit from Return. Against Raiden, I probably should have gone for Ice Punch, but I went for Earthquake, which didn't take it out, so it set up Sandstorm, but my second Earthquake obviously takes it out then. The most annoying part is that Sandstorm's animation now takes away a few seconds every turn, which really isn't great because I'm up to an amazing time right now. Gyarados gets taken out by Return afterwards. Executor feints to a critical hit from Return, which helps making up a few seconds, and finally it's Arcanine, which goes down to a super effective Earthquake as well. Now I have all the 16 badges. I collect the final rare candy and give all of the rare candies to Kangaskhan, pushing up its level to 71, and off we go towards the battle with Red. Unlike for Ursaring, Red isn't that scary this time around. That mainly is because I outspeed every one of Red's Pokemon, which will help a lot. This way, I don't have to play the Pikachu Charm Lottery because I can simply knock it out with Earthquake. The same thing goes for the Espeon Protect Lottery because Espeon is wanted from Return. As mentioned, Return is just a few attack points stronger than Shadow Ball, but everything matters here. Snorlax tanks the Return and opens with the expected Amnesia, but another Return takes it out easily. And now it's onto the Gen 1 starters. Venusaur will not go down to Return, but it took in Sunlight. Bad AI helped me a bit here, because if it's gonna waste a turn, why not set up Sunny Day to spam Solar Beams and increase the power for Charizard? Well, whatever, another Return takes out Venusaur. Charizard also doesn't feign to Return and attacks with Flamethrower. That move is always dangerous, and so it is this time also, but Kangaskhan hangs on and knocks out Charizard with another Return. Things are looking amazing, because Return should 2-hit Blastoise. The first one brings it into an orange HP, which is a pretty good sign for a 2-hit KO. Blastoise sets up Rain Dance, and then another Return is able to take out Blastoise. So Kangaskhan finishes Red with a time of 5 hours, 33 minutes and 6 seconds, which is very close to Alakazam. With only 4 resets, it comes down to a final time of 5 hours, 35 minutes and 6 seconds. Just a bit more than 2 minutes slower than Alakazam, but at the same time almost 5 minutes faster than Ursaring despite having worse attack. Well, okay, in pure game time Ursaring was faster, but it did have a lot of resets after all that heavily impacted its time. So this means Kangaskhan now takes the second place from Ursaring, but still no Pokemon has been able to knock off Alakazam off its throne. It has been close twice now, but a lot of other Pokemon will have good chances for that first place. If you want to see them, please make sure to like and subscribe to this video. And that's it. Hope you enjoyed it, have a great day, and see you in the next one. Yep, still loving this song.